Sometimes you just need a story about like love and acceptance and, you know, figuring out who you are. It's Kristen, and today we are talking about the first season of Hulu's new series, Love, Victor. This show takes place in the same universe as the 2018 film Love, Simon, adapted from the book Simonverse The Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. In Love, Victor, we follow a new student at Creekwood High, Victor Salazar, on a journey of self-discovery, from facing challenges at home to figuring out his sexual orientation. The series is co-narrated by Michael Cimino, who plays Victor, and Nick Robinson, who played Simon in the original film, as Victor reaches out to him for help navigating life. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on Love, Victor. First of all, I love that we are getting to follow a Latinx LGBTQ+ story, and through this lens we get to see a very different story from Simon's in Love, Simon. I feel like in general we don't really see that many Latinx-led stories, and especially to see one that's focused on the LGBTQ+ community I think is really important. Victor comes from a more religious Hispanic household and has to worry about how will his traditional family react to his coming out. Whereas Simon kind of had it very easy in the film. He knew that his family would accept him for who he is. Simon also knew from the beginning of the film that he was gay, whereas Victor is trying to figure out his sexual orientation throughout the series. Another thing I really enjoyed about this show is that even though we are following Victor's story, it's not just about him. The world we're diving into is really fleshed out. We get to learn more about Victor's family and friends and the people in his life, as well as some of the Love, Simon characters and what they're up to. Everyone is going through their own struggles and secrets and victories, and because of that there are higher stakes in Love, Victor. You know, Victor's parents aren't just 2D characters in the background, they actually have a role and a purpose, and we learn that they're not perfect, they have their own things going on, and there are secrets behind why they had to move to Creekwood that, you know, we slowly start to unravel as the season goes on. And I think almost every character in this show really gets like another level to them. You know, there's Mia, who seems like very popular and smart, but she has this fear of being left behind by her family. And there's Lake, who's, you know, seems very superficial, and that's because of all of this pressure put on her by her mother. There's Felix, who seems like, you know, the stereotypical awkward neighbor, but he ends up being a really great friend. And actually the relationship between him and Lake, I really enjoyed sort of that back and forth between them. Felix ended up being one of my favorite characters to follow in the show. There was another character named Andrew that I think that they could have gone a bit deeper with, and maybe they will in a season 2, but he had this very interesting kind of persona where he was the bully, but he thought of himself as like the class clown, sort of, like he thought he was a nice guy, but other people didn't see that, and I thought that that was kind of an interesting dynamic for them to play with, you know, kind of how he's perceived versus how he sees himself. And then with the character Benji, you know, I think he seemed very sweet, but we went very surface level with his character, and I think the same actually for the character of Victor. As much as I enjoyed following this story, I felt like I actually learned more about the surrounding characters in Victor's life than Victor himself. What do I know about Victor? He's trying to figure out his sexuality and he plays basketball. I think everyone else kind of got their moments to, you know, be real fleshed out 3D characters, and I didn't think that we really got to see enough with Victor. And then also, at times, some of the balancing of storylines felt a little bit off, like maybe we were too focused on, you know, one group of people and then we sort of missed out on storylines with another group, and then we'd go back to them and it kind of felt like a little bit off kilter in terms of giving everyone their time. There were some moments where I think they tackled some really great topics in the discussions that different characters had about, you know, straight versus gay relationships and kind of like what's expected of you in them, in focusing around a Hispanic family and, you know, how traditional they are. I think that there's some great moments where Victor actually stands up for people or for himself, and that actually is what made me really enjoy the ending of this show, is that even though we do end very abruptly, we did get to see Victor speak his truth despite everything that was going on, and I'm very curious to see in a season 2 what the reaction from his family will be. One of my favorite episodes probably had to be when we got to combine the Love, Victor and Love, Simon worlds and see them come together. We got some great cameo appearances from Nick Robinson, Keenan Lonsdale, Tommy Dorfman, Katya from Drag Race, which was so cool. I loved that. And I think what was really powerful about that episode is that we got to see that the LGBTQ plus community, everyone comes from different places, from different backgrounds, and that there's no one way to be a part of this community, and that they all are a family and accept each other, which I thought was really beautiful. And I will say for 10 episodes, this is a very quick show to get through. And I think like while this was a very charming and, you know, sweet show, they still sort of seem to play it safe throughout the series. And you know what? That's fine. You know, sometimes you just need a story about like love and acceptance and, you know, figuring out who you are and self-discovery. I do think that they could have pushed the boundaries a little bit further, but I still think that this is an enjoyable show to watch, and that, like I said, I really appreciated that inclusivity and that representation and letting a Hispanic lead kind of take center stage in this story. If you like this one, you can check out more of my Hulu reviews right over here, and I will catch you in my next video. See ya!